Allison Camerata.
Thanks, Brian Kilmeade. The gloves are off and accusations are flying between the Clinton and Obama campaigns. He says she's exaggerating her foreign policy experience. She says he's padding his resume. Who's telling the truth? Here to weigh in on the political drama are Jeff Dufour and Patrick Gavin of the Washington Examiner. Guys, thanks for getting up early to talk about this. It seems like there's a bad case of embellishment-itis happening on the campaign trail right now. We've talked a lot about Hillary Clinton embellishing some details of her trip to Bosnia. Now there has been a very eye-opening article written by the Washington Post about how Barack Obama is taking credit for some legislation that he was never involved in. Jeff, what's this about?
Well, it's always tough as a senator. You're one of 100. It's very tough to get credit. This was an issue with the Kerry campaign as well 4 years ago, where how much legislation is he actually responsible for? And it's the same thing. You're trying to arrogate yourself a little bit more credit than maybe you deserve, and this happens all the time. With Obama now, it's the immigration bill. How much was he there during the compromise stages?
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, but I want to tell the audience what the Washington Post says, that the group of senators who were really involved in the immigration legislation came out of an early morning meeting. Barack Obama passed them in the hallway and said, "Hey guys, you're headed to a news conference, mind if I tag along?" Promptly took to the microphone and took credit for being part of the legislation. Patrick, this must surely have annoyed his Senate colleagues, no?
Yeah, I think all these embellishments makes Al Gore's claim that he invented the internet actually sound quite reasonable. And in Obama's case, I mean, look, what you have here is a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience in the Senate, and now he's running for president. So somehow he has to fill the gap. What I find interesting, the Senate's a very polite, it's a very civilized place, but it respects authority. And what you're noticing in Obama's case, and a little bit to Hillary's case as well, is that a lot of the senior senators feel okay speaking out on the record, lately chastising both Obama and Clinton for embellishing their records. And I think that's simply because, this is a place where seniority counts, and they don't want to have somebody coming in here like Obama did, literally just tagging on towards the end after all this hard work has been done, taking credit for it. You don't see as much snipping about McCain because he's been in the Senate for a very long time, but you're going to see some elder statesmen of the Democratic Party calling out their own if, in fact, they're violating some sort of unwritten rules of the Senate.
But, Jeff, that's funny that he says that because we haven't really publicly heard that Barack Obama has been doing embellishing as much as we've heard about Hillary Clinton. Are reporters giving him a pass on this kind of behavior?
Well, the trouble is, if this is going to become a credibility question between the two candidates, I think Hillary is always going to come out on the short end of it. With her, there's this pre-existing narrative that's very, very damaging. You guys talked about the poll earlier. Another question on there was the credibility question and the honesty and trustworthiness. I think Obama scored about 63% on that, and Hillary scored about 44, if I'm correct. And McCain beat them both with 67. And yesterday, Dick Morris had a column where he gave a laundry list of all these quote-unquote lies that Clinton has told over the years, over the last 15 years. And when you see them all in a big list like that, it's startling how many there are and how long this has gone back.
Patrick, we want you guys to stick around because we also want to talk about John McCain and whether or not he's engaging in any of this resume padding that now seems to be coming to light with Hillary and Barack Obama. So stick around, guys, for a second. Of course, we're back with Jeff Dufour and Patrick Gavin of the Washington Examiner. Guys, we want to talk about John McCain. Is he immune from doing this sort of resume padding and embellishing his experience? Let's pull up some of the things that he has said, and we can talk about it. Now, he has apparently exaggerated some things in terms of pork barrel spending reform, his role in immigration reform legislation. He also says that he called for Defense Secretary Rumsfeld's resignation, but it turns out that he didn't. Jeff, explain this.
Well, when you have a record as long as McCain's, it's easy to parse. And again, we saw this with Kerry 4 years ago. You're always going to find inconsistencies like this. With McCain, I think the problem's a little bit different. The credibility issue goes to things like when he disavowed Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson 8 years ago, and now he's embracing their leadership. I've heard that over and over and over again in the last few weeks in terms of that being a problem for some voters.
Okay, so Patrick, since it turns out that all of the candidates are doing this kind of embellishing, are voters just going to give them a pass?
Well, you're right. I mean, there's certainly a bit of, every politician does this. What I find, and I think voters will understand that, but I think what I find unique about this situation is that, everybody always says that senators never win the presidency. Well, one senator is, and that's affecting how this race is playing out. What I find interesting is that, especially between Barack and Hillary, the fact that they're sniping at each other already over this, I think, shows the level of bitterness in this campaign, because it is sort of an unwritten rule in the Senate of, hey, we all kind of do this. Let's not sit and sit and rat on each other. And so the fact that we're seeing this is a sign of how tense this campaign has become.
All right, Patrick Gavin, Jeff Dufour, thanks for joining us.